Hey guys, it's Tombox here. Welcome to MST.TV, and I've got a deck profile for you guys, a budget deck profile where I only use 3 of the structure decks from Order of the Spellcaster to build this. Now, is it playable compared to the Soulburner structure deck? The Soulburner structure deck without the Sunlight Wolf was a major pain point. However, this deck, on the other hand, does function pretty well even without any outside support. I get that without the Mythical Beast package, you lose a bit of consistency. You don't have Electromite. There's a lot of things that is missing. However, can it play with just the pendulum scales and the monsters within itself? Well, yes you can, because it does have a solid boss option, whereas the boss option and utility for Soulburner was in the Savage Strike, so yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. But regardless, let's look into this particular deck profile and see how we readjust in playing this without some of the meta components that we probably will put in the future. So starting off with, let's just look at the extra deck, because there's only 3 cards. We only have Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior, because he's our only Link monster and he opens up 2 zones. He's going to be one of your key elements when you want to do a big pendulum summon. And when you pendulum summon, it's pretty much you make Breaker for free. And you get to put counters on him too, so it's pretty neat. So yeah, that's the extra deck part. And this video is brought to you by the Patreons, guys. So if you guys enjoy my stuff, you want to support this channel, go ahead and check out the Patreon page down in the description below. And any pledge will help out, and you guys get early access to proxies. And for you guys that already had access to these proxies for some time now, well, congratulations, the deck is finally out. So go ahead and just replace their cards. So you already have your deck list basically ready. So kicking the deck list off, we have Endymion, the boss monster, the mighty master of magic that's no longer sponsored by Supreme. This guy's still really good. Your win condition, as a part of the budget deck, you're going to be a bit more focused on the spell counter side of things more than just the pendulum side. I get the pendulum like combos are really strong at building really strong boards. This one's more about being able to blow out your opponent by pushing forward really hard. Of course, this card is the 1 card boss monster pain point against Sky Striker, where they were gonna have to find some way to deal with it, because within the Sky Striker engine itself, they do not have an out for this card. So they're gonna have to find some external outs to readapt to your, I guess, influence on the meta. And 1 spell counter, 1 protection. I guess the protection that you're getting from that would be you cannot be targeted by card effects and you cannot be destroyed by card effects. And that kind of covers the ground for all of Sky Striker's Widow Anchor, Afterburner, Jamming Waves. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. They need to power up that Kagari all the way up just to kind of run into this guy. And then you benefit off of the running in anyway. And also, this guy negates spells and traps and their effects. So even face-up ones and the ones in the graveyard, you can negate those by simply bouncing back 1 card on your side of the field with a spell counter on it, and then you put the spell counter on you. Easy. And of course, the boss effect of removing 6 spell counters, blow up basically your opponent's entire board. Well, not entire board, but up to the number of spell counter monsters or cards you control. And yeah, that's basically all it does. And for each card you blow up, you get to, well, add a spell counter onto him. But that's like excessive. You really only need 1 spell counter on him. Then we're playing Double Reflection of Endymion. This card is very much needed in this particular variant, in the budget variant, because it acts as a bouncer. It does require you to play this card, which is a bit weird. It has 1850 in terms of attack stat for a level 7. It is very low, but the utility when it's special summoned, I think, makes up for it. But of course, you can only special summon 1 copy of this per turn. It's like hard once per turn. Reflection is hard once per turn. Now, if this card is special summon, target 1 card your opponent controls and 1 card you control with a spell counter, except this one. Return that card and your card back to the hand, and then place the same number of spell counters that was on the previous card that you bounced. So you need another card with spell counters to do it. Of course, this is on a summon trigger. So if this card is special summon, and it's an if trigger, so it won't really miss timing, you get to bounce cards, and there's lots of cards that are able to do that. So speaking of cards that can do that, we have Servant of the Endymion. She is the best scale 2 you have. She is a card that you would play 3 of, regardless of if you're playing a budget variant or not, simply because she tethers out a monster with her pendulum effect. Now, several things to note. Her pendulum effect is not once per turn, but there is a restriction. If she is successful in special summoning out herself, this card has a hard summoning clause. I believe Reflection has a hard summoning clause as well. So the hard summoning clause locks her in so that she can only be special summoned out once. So Even though her scale effect's not hard once per turn, the restriction of her monster effect will prevent her from activating her scale effect at the same time, making it a hard once per turn thing. But there are loopholes. If she gets ashed, she doesn't get summoned from the scale. If you have enough spell counters, she can jump out again. So she has that attempt, but once she summons herself out, that's it. You can't pendulum summon her on the same turn, because that would be considered as a special summon. Now that's why she's so amazing, because whenever she special summons herself out of the scale, she brings out a buddy. She tethers out another monster from the deck that has 1000 attack or more that can hold spell counters, which includes Reflection, so that she can break a board, or Endymion, so that you can establish control or maybe just push for a lot of damage. Then that's why she's really good. If you play Electromite in like future builds, of course she is the one card that goes into Electromite very quickly. Then we have, I guess, her brother, Magister of Endymion. Unlike Servant summons out of the deck, but Magister summons out of the extra deck, so that you need an extra monster zone or arrows for him to work out properly. If you're blocked out, you won't be able to use the scale effect whatsoever. Now, both of these monsters, when they're destroyed as a monster card, they jump back onto the scale. So there's lots of benefits of just leaving these guys on board. And Servant, I guess one thing to note is that when she has a spell counter, she can attack directly. Now, what about your monster effect, Mr. Magister? Well, when he declares an attack, he gains a spell counter. But he has a really good effect on your opponent's turn. He just tethers out another dude as a quick effect. You remove 3 spell counters from anywhere on the field, and you can summon out a monster that can be carrying spell counters just for free. Just like, oh, I need another dude, I'll just summon out the guy that I need. You can summon out Endymion, you can summon out Reflection, which actually turns Magister into a very key monster that you want to leave on board during your opponent's turn, because if you can summon out Reflection, if you summon out Reflection during your opponent's turn, you get to bounce this card perhaps, or another one of your cards, and one of your opponent's cards to create that disruption. So the disruptions are coming in the form of monsters. And you can even set up negation. If you want to negate your opponent's cards, then you would summon out Endymion as well. So this guy is just really flexible, and that's why I really like him. And yeah, you can, if you're in a tight situation where you already have your extra deck all set up with pendulum monsters, he's kind of like a 1-card pendulum summon to some degree, as long as you have spell counters. Next, we're now out of the Endymion package. We're into Magical Abductor. She can search for any pendulum as long as she's a pendulum scale, and if she has 3 spell counters. That affects once per turn, as noted. Now, each time a spell counter is activated as a monster, she also gains spell counters. Lots of benefits for just playing her. And remove 3. You can add a Drone Lockbird in this variant of the deck. And we have double Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, simply because upon summon or flip face up, you could add a Spellbook from your deck to your hand. It's just played as a plus in this variant. And Fairy Tale Luna, very much the same deal. You play this as a plus because you're able to summon out this card and add a Spellcaster with 1850. And Reflection has 1850, which lets you search for a scale, and that is actually pretty good. Yeah, she also has the effect of bounce cards or have that part of the effect negated. Anyways, triple Drone Lockbird. It's not often that we get to play hand traps. I guess in the previous structure deck, we were able to play hand traps because it came with Ash. This one came with Droll. I'm guessing all the hand traps are now eventually just coming out in structure decks. Like Maxi was part of the structure deck. Now we have Droll, we have Ash. Which one are we missing? We're missing an Ogre. Maybe the next one we're gonna get an Ogre. But Droll can shut out a lot of the current decks right now, and playing a hand trap is good. Now we're onto the spell cards. Double Pot of Desires. It's not often that I get to say, like, hey, a budget deck with a Pot of Desires, or a budget deck. Hey, let's put Drone Lockbird as a budget deck. Well, now we can because this deck comes with it. So yeah, Double Pot of Desires. A lot of the cards you may have noticed I play in 3s or 2s. 3s because I don't really need to mind banishing them. Double Terraforming because we have the field spell of Magical Citadel Endymion. This card, when you have it, it feels really good. It's a safety net because this deck has a bit of a slow start, but Magical Citadel Endymion lets you mitigate that slow start. If you ever get interrupted, oh my god, the pickup space is so bad unless you have this, because this can start mitigating a lot of the cost of spell counters as long as you have this card. Then we have Spell Power Mastery. This is the rota of the deck, giving you a bit more consistency and also sets up spell counter. So it's consistency plus kicking off your engine. Then we have one Magical Dimension. I felt like I wanted more of this, but then I just thought about, hey, why don't I just summon out the things that actually just bounce stuff? so that's why I'm only playing one. It's decent. I guess it has a non-destructive removal, or sorry, non-targeting removal. It is destructive. We have 2 Spellbook of Secrets, and I have 1, I guess I'll just put the rest of it, 1 Spellbook of Power and 1 Spellbook of Wisdom. This deck does not come with Knowledge, so you won't have a draw engine as a part of this whole thing, but this is a decent package, so when you go into Blue Ball, you can get out the Secrets, and the Secrets can get out Power or Wisdom. This just sets it up so that you can get a lot of spell counters generated onto your scales very early through a normal summon, and I think that's fair. Next, we have 2 copies of Endymion's Lab. It just acts as more magical Citadel Endymion. If you have 6 spell counters on the field, and when one of your spellcaster monsters is destroyed by battle, you get to summon out at level 7, so you get to bounce one of your opponent's cards or set up a negation from Endymion, which is pretty decent. Next, now after 3 traps here, I have Magical Circle, or sorry, Magician Circle, and a Pitch Black Power Stone. Why am I playing this card? Well, this card automatically generates 3 spell counters on it, and that works very well with Endymion, if you ask me. And if they want to destroy this card, if you have Endymion, the Magical Citadel, you get to just put all those spell counters over there. And for Magician Circle, if you want to clear one of your opponent's monsters, well, by all means, you can summon out Reflection, because Reflection can do it. Or if you don't have Reflection, but you have Servant on the other hand, say you are declaring a direct attack, well, you can summon out in Magister, and if you have 3 spell counters on the field, say this Pitch Black Power Stone, you get to summon out Endymion or whatever you want just to push for game, and that's why I think it's a very nice thing to have. That's just my opinion, and you guys also push for another 15 as well, so that's pretty decent. Yeah, and that's basically the deck profile I'm going with for a budget variant of this deck. I don't really have any combos to really highlight because most of the combos will require Electromite, would require the ability to put out 2 cards onto the field, but then at the end of the day, without Electromite, there's no real major push. This is a much more simplified deck for anyone that's just coming back into the game, trying to be a bit more financially responsible. But that's all I got for this video, guys. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, like that Zephyr build that you guys have been asking for. I'm just trying to get the last bit of cards. I have a list. I just want to make sure that I have the real cards to show you guys, so I don't need to do the proxy gig. Well, hit the subscribe button. You'll see it very soon. And if you guys got any questions or any comments, leave it down in the comment section below about how you would play a budget variant of the Endymion deck. Would you play a budget, or would you just be like meta or no dice? And speaking of dice, make sure you have a lot of dice for this deck, because you don't want to run into time, because so many cards carry spell counters and you don't want to mess that up, because that's the key part of your strategy. And that is all I got for this one, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.